Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well today on this Monday. What is the date today? 21st? Monday, the 21st of April, 2025. Lots going on in the world. Lots going on fantasy sports. Lots going on all over the place. So thank you for your time and effort at being part of the crew at FantasyGuru.com. I am Ray Flowers. You can find me at FG, of course. You can find all of my work over there. You can find me on this show Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll get back to that normal schedule this week. Justin Fentzman will be hosting on Wednesday, moving forward. The show Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com, is on Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, like you're well aware. Back to normal-ish this week. The Game Time show, Justin Fentzman and I, 8 to 10 Eastern, Monday through Friday on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. That show is not on 5 days a week. We're only on 2 days this week because of the draft. So we're on tonight and tomorrow, and then the NFL draft takes over for the rest of the week. We'll be back 5 days a week starting next week. Jeff Mann's Elite Sports Show is on 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I think, all week. And then he's also doing tons of coverage for the draft. So you'll get lots of Jeff Mann's this week over at FantasyGuru.com. What are we talking about here on the show today? Well, let's throw it up on the screen as I tell you that this show obviously can be found in multiple locations. Go to FantasyGuru.com, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner, get signed up for any and all of the products at FG. That includes football, baseball, basketball, hockey, NASCAR, PGA, MMA, soccer, horse racing, kind of everything, UFL. So click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. If you have any problems, send a note to support@FantasyGuru.com, support@FantasyGuru.com. You can also watch the show, listen live. If you go to YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, and on Twitter X @FantasyGuruSite. In any of those spots, you can leave comments and questions throughout the show, and we'll be able to address those. You can always type in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast network as well to find us and take us on the go as a podcast, and click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page at FG to find this show and the other ones on the network. As you can see there on the screen, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the youngsters, the call-ups, the breaking news in Major League Baseball. More injuries, unfortunately, to talk about as well. But we'll focus on the call-ups, and we'll spend a good deal of time on FAAB. We're getting good returns from people saying they like that segment. So actually adding one today. We're doing LABR, FSGA, and Tout Wars. We'll go through all of those three leagues. What did the FAAB rundowns look like this weekend? We'll do that here over the next hour or so and have some fun here on the show. A couple of things before we dive into that directly. I'm getting a little frustrated, just to share this with you because we're an open book at FG. Getting a little frustrated with folks. I have a breakout pitcher of the year article, and we've talked about this on the show. I've written it for years now. I've had a ton of success, like a lot of success doing this. And I keep seeing from people questions about dropping and or trading guys that are in the top 5 finalists for the breakout pitcher of the year article, which, again, it's been less than a month. We're talking 4 starts, 20 innings from these guys. Number one. Number two, one of the guys is Nick Lodolo. He's pitched pretty well. He's pitching today. Another one's Shane Baz. He's pitched pretty well. Why are folks asking me about dropping or trading guys who are in my breakout pitcher of the year article? So that's been a little frustrating. This morning, I have someone in the Discord that apparently no longer is going to be a member with us at FG, was upset that I called them out for calling me out. Did the old no offense. Well, if you say no offense in a comment, you're clearly expecting to offend somebody. That's why you're saying no offense. But the bottom line is, I'll say the same thing I said to this gentleman in Discord. You don't have to ever take my advice. I'm not saying my advice is right all the time, and you know that. I say it on the time, on the show all the time. Made a mistake. Say it in articles all the time. Every year I write thousands of words about how I screwed things up last year. I'm not always right. My decisions are always based, and this gentleman also suggested that we're guessing. I've never guessed, which is an insult as well. But I'm not right all the time. No one is. You don't ever have to take anything I say on this show or any piece of advice I give in an article or in Discord. You don't ever have to take it. But when someone asks you a question, give me 2 or 3. I say, here's the 2 I'm going to take. And then you write back to me, well, I'm going to go with the third one you didn't select. What's the point of that? You ask a question, I give a response, you make a decision. That's how this works. If you want to talk about it and have a discussion about why didn't you choose this third guy as an example, okay. That's not what happened. It was A or B or C. I chose A or B, and the user said, I'm going to go A and C. That's what's the point? So again, I'm not always right. You don't always have to take my advice. I get it. But I'm not going to sit there and let someone do that to any of our members at fantasyguru.com or me. You don't want to take the advice, don't take it. It's not always right anyway. I admit it. But don't stick it back in my face. And I said to this person, I said, it's the same thing as saying, hey, Frank, I'm going to buy this car. I'm not really sure I should do it. What do you think? Well, Frank, I really, for A, B, C, D, I really don't think you should buy the car. Okay, Frank, I really appreciate that. I'm going to go buy the car. You want to go with me? What are we doing? So encourage people that, I get life and, all this kind of, I get it. We're all dealing with tons of stuff. Believe me, we're all dealing with tons of stuff. Let's be civil. And I will commend everyone on the show because the comments are always positive on the show. The people on the show, this show does a great job. I wish this show we could transition into other avenues because you guys have all done a great job. So clap on the back for all the people that contribute to this show, that leave questions and comments in Discord. Keep it going. You need to talk to more of these other people out there and infuse your positivity in that. All right, let's dive in. Chandler Simpson was the guy. Caleb Durbin as well. These two speed call-ups. We'll talk about them in a few minutes. We'll go through the cost points in the various leagues that I'm in. Bottom line is that Simpson, he's been comped to Billy Hamilton. I will say this. It's on the surface, I get it. I think, though, he's much more Juan Pierre because, Billy Hamilton hit the ball and ran really fast. Chandler Simpson can get on base. His on-base percentage is routinely 370 or better. Like, he takes a walk, gets on base. Billy Hamilton never did that. So the archetype of a guy that could lead the league in steals with little power, absolutely who Simpson is. The potential for Simpson to be, somebody that has a 350 plus on-base percentage is pretty good. The question is, with Simpson, is he going to stay? Open-ended question. LaDuca is out with an injury. Lowe is out with an injury. I tend to think, and I said this when asked over the weekend at fantasyguru.com, if Simpson's given the opportunity, and he is, and he performs well while given this opportunity, I think he sticks. And because of his ability to lead the league in steals, if he does play every day for the Rays, I think he was an excellent pickup. And again, we'll talk about him in a few more minutes when we talk about the waiver wire. Caleb Durbin is another guy, could be multi-position flexible, third base, second base in your setup. He's going to be the third baseman now. They've announced that for the Brewers. He's going to get an opportunity here to play third base. Whereas Simpson, we think he'll get a chance to stick if he hits. Durbin's going to stick until he doesn't. Now, remember, this could be a scenario like Jackson Holiday last year where they give him an opportunity, they give him the job, and it doesn't happen. So that's possible with Durbin. But Durbin's a little bit older. He's 25. He worked on changing his swing up this offseason. He's a 300 hitter in the minors who steals a ton of bases, and he, again, could be dual position eligible. I'm a real big fan of adding him right now if you have the opportunity to do so. Kyren Paris was the guy that we were all talking about 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, and I wrote a player profile on him over at fantasyguru.com. That's, anyone can take a look at that over there on the site. And I warned, and like most, and it's not me, I'm not the only one that said this. Most analysts warned of the downturn. Some people were way more bullish on Kyren Williams than others. We talked about his change of swing this offseason, working with Teacher Man, and how that intrigued me. But still, there was a lot of questions about how this was going to go, were the strikeouts going to return, when the league got a book on him, would they adjust? Well, the team is really adjusted here. The league has, excuse me. He's 2 for his last 21 with 12 strikeouts. He has stopped hitting. He's stopped hitting. And this is the danger we run into that we have to always be cautious about. It's why there's the sample size article over at fantasyguru.com. It's why you and I have talked about this so often here on the show here in the month of April. When a guy struggles in August, no one really notices. When a guy has the success Paris had, if he did that in August, you would still notice. But when you have the downturn, no one notices. When you start the season out and you go, 10 for 20, you're hitting 500. Everyone's like, oh my God. When you start the season out going, 1 for 20, you're hitting 50. Everyone's like, oh my God. If it happened in July, August, how much mention does it get? In the case of Kyren Williams, you've got him for probably nothing, right? You picked him up off the waiver wire. Hopefully you had that good run. Hopefully you didn't add him after the fact, which often happens. By the time we realize a guy is producing, we can make a move to that guy. And then after you make a move to that guy, so Paris, by the way, just completely stopped hitting. He'll be better than, he wasn't that guy. He's not this guy. He's done enough to stay in the lineup right now, especially with the return of Zach Nito. He's done enough to stay in the lineup for now, but he's someone we're going to have to watch because Paris, we'll see. Brandon Marsh was placed on the injured list. Why this is important, and you'll see this name mentioned in the FAAB run when we talk about it. Johan Rojas is likely to play daily now with Brandon Marsh on the injured list with a hamstring strain. Rojas is off to a really good start. I don't think there's much of a chance of Rojas usurping Marsh for the starting job. I think when Marsh is healthy, he goes back into the lineup. But Marsh had problems with contact. He's had problems with production. He's uneven. He's not consistent from week to week kind of thing. So I'm still in the Marsh camp, provided this hamstring injury is minor, as it sounds like it is. Rojas will get a little bit of time here to further establish himself. But again, I'm still predicting Marsh to be the more full-time player. But Rojas is interesting because he started out hot. He's certainly going to get a run here for the next week or so. So for those of you in deep leagues, head-to-head setups, Rojas not a bad direction to go in. Spencer Steer started at first base on Sunday. That's the first time he played the field this year. He's had the shoulder issue. We've been talking about this for 2 months now. And we talked about, let me get a sip of water here for a second. We talked about things with Steer, how he was really high in the rankings at FantasyGuru.com, dual position eligible, 2020 guy. And all through the spring, down, because we kept getting negative reports. Well, he's been out there. He's been giving it a go with his shoulder. It hasn't been doing anything. He's looked bad, and the numbers are really bad. At least on the weekend, he finally played in the field because he's been DHing the whole time. That leads you to think that maybe the Reds and Steer himself think, okay, I'm healthy enough to play in the field, which is obviously a positive sign. Still really tough to get excited about him at the moment. My leagues, 14, 15 teamers, no one's dropping Spencer Steer. In your 10 or 12 team leagues, I've seen multiple questions over at FantasyGuru.com about this. And, so really depends upon your format. I would try very diligently to hold Spencer Steer. But again, I understand, and there have been instances where I said, okay, do it. There have been instances where it just hasn't made sense to make a move like that. Kerry Carpenter left the game on Sunday with right hamstring soreness. He's going to undergo further testing, and then we'll see an injured list for Kerry. An injured list stint for Kerry Carpenter sure seems like where we're headed, which is really disappointing because he's been really good since 2 years ago, actually, since he changes his swing up a little bit. He's been really good. He's been an all-star caliber performer against right-handed pitching since the start of 2023. But he can't stay on the field. And again, this might be a minor hiccup. He might avoid the injured list. But Kerry Carpenter, for those of you setting your lineups today, I don't think you can set a lineup with Kerry Carpenter in it this week. And the Tigers will continue to mix and match as they deal with injuries and guys coming and going off the injured list. Tough scenario. A couple of comments here. Brandon A says, welcome. Let's see. What you do is valuable. You're not in control of what people interpret from your work. Keep up the good work. Ignore the nonsense and focus on what you do tremendously. Brandon, thank you. Good to hear something nice like that. Again, this show's great. It's good to hear something like that. I mean, when I heard in the Discord this morning, we're all just guessing. I mean, that was more insulting to me than the comments. To think that all the time and energy I put into this and ultimately I'm just guessing. So I appreciate you saying that, Brandon. Thank you. Brandon also said, I'm just chilling over here waiting for Jordan Lawler to get the call. He's raking in the minors. He is. Now, the negative here is that Perdomo has continued to hit and been part of that foursome with the Diamondbacks that has been fantastic. He's hitting second. Are they going to promote Lawler to replace Perdomo? Not at this point in time. Still waiting for Marte to come back from injury, though. I'm kind of surprised Lawler didn't get promoted and they didn't give him second base. He's been playing it down on the farm, even though he's a shortstop. I'm kind of surprised they didn't give him a call up to let him play second base for 10 days, 12 days. And if he hits, just keep him around. I still believe firmly, as everyone else really does too, that Lawler is just better than Perdomo. He's just better. It's not a question. He's just better. He's more talented. He's a 30-30 threat at the major league level. He is hitting down the farm. We will see Jordan Lawler at some point. When it happens, there's going to be a race to the waiver wire because that dude could be a dynamic fantasy option this season. Henry says, morning. Welcome. Morning, Henry. Thank you for joining us today. Tony W says, hello, Ray. Thank you for your time on the FAAB tutorials. Good. Glad you got a chance to get to that, Tony. I know that we did it, I think, a day or two after you were asking about it last time. But yeah, we did spend a show for those people that missed it. I want to say it was last week. We have a FAAB article that goes up Friday night, Saturday morning at fantasyguru.com with numbers and all that kind of stuff. People are always welcome to ask over in Discord at fantasyguru.com. So when you sign up for any package, whether it's the seasonal baseball package, the wagering baseball package, or the DFS baseball package, or if you get more than one, send a note to support at fantasyguru.com. You get access to any of those rooms. And if you have the seasonal package, you can ask questions. Hey, Ray, what do you think about this? Over in Discord. We did last week, I believe. You can check it out on demand. A show where we spent half an hour talking just about FAAB, how to handle FAAB. I think it was last Tuesday. I don't know, something like that. Maybe it was Friday 10 days ago. Let's see if I can look this up real quick. Why don't I do that before I just keep guessing here? What was the FAAB talk? We spent a good 30 minutes talking about FAAB. Okay, it was show number 376. Show 376. So for those of you that missed that, good half hour on the FAAB idea and how to handle it and all that. I have 8 NFBC teams, and my FAAB results were much better, says Tony. I used your advice and won the majority of my bids with little money wasted. Thank you, says Tony. Well, Tony, that's great news. Fantastic news. Great. So again, check that out if you missed that. Let's give it another pub. Episode 376. It worked for Tony. Great to hear, Tony. Let's keep pushing. Fantastic news. Good for you. All right, let's talk about some pitching guys before we dive into some FAAB details. Didn't Tyler Glasnow have an arm issue? Yesterday, he exited the game with an ankle issue. I mean, this is what we've talked about all offseason. I think it's been the one concern we have had with the Dodgers. How is their pitching staff going to stay healthy? And how are they going to utilize the pitchers even if they do stay healthy? Someone asked me a valid question in Discord over the weekend. Hey, Ray, I didn't notice that you were high at all on Dustin May. I can't even find him in the rankings from the preseason. What do you think? Was that a mistake or it's not a mistake? The reason that I didn't list Dustin May and I think I wrote about it this Thursday last week, the 15th of April, maybe last week. The problem with the Dodgers and Dustin May is Dustin May he doesn't throw 100 innings ever. Ever. He's always hurt. His stuff is not as sharp and crisp velocity or movement wise as it was prior to injury, multiple injuries. We didn't know heading into the season for sure if he's going to be a spot starter, if he's going to be in the rotation. And then you got to remember with the Dodgers, I mean, right now we've got Tony Gonsolin coming back from injury. We've got Blake Snell on the injured list. We've got Clayton Kershaw just hanging out. And now with Tyler Glasnow, they're going to need, it looks like the Dodgers are going to need Dustin May for as long as they can until his arm gives out because they can't get these guys healthy or keep them healthy. But that's why we weren't high on Dustin May. Dustin May was like the 8th or 9th starting pitcher on this roster. Now, could we predict an injury to Blake Snell? Yeah, but you don't want to, yes, but you still expect Snell to make 27 starts. I don't know if he gets there this year. We knew for sure that Kershaw is coming back at one point. They had Glasnow, Yamamoto, Sasaki. These guys are all in the. So just one of those things where even if you have Dustin May now and he's been great, understand the stuff isn't what it once was. The ability to miss bats isn't what it once was. There's a top end of usable innings here because you just got none the last 5 years. And the Dodgers do have other options that will be returning on the hill in short order, though we don't know about Tyler Glasnow. So I don't know if he's pitching this week. I would say no if I had to make a guess today. Jeffrey Springs was removed from the game with the right hamstring soreness on Sunday. Now, Springs said his hamstring was fine, that it was cramps. I believe his next outing is set to face the White Sox. I have Springs, I think, in only one league. It might be two, now that I think about it. No, it was one league. I did not start him this week. Because in my league, I can only set my lineup once, and I think he's going to make that start. I don't know. So if you set your lineup today, and speaking of that, if you set your lineup today, Major League Baseball has the early game today. How was it? Patriots Day? What's the name of the game? The game in New England. The Red Sox early game today. The Red Sox and White Sox are in the 5th inning right now. So hopefully your league, it's 4-1 as we record those. Red Sox ahead. Hopefully in your league you can still set your lineups, because if you didn't set your lineup by 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Monday or 8 o'clock Pacific Time, not all leagues, some leagues, when that first game of the week is played, it locks you out all week, right? So hopefully you set your lineups, because this has been just a really messy week for that. Again, for me, Jeffrey Springs, Jack Leiter, who's got that blister, there was debate whether he would be in the big leagues for his next outing or in the minor leagues. He's going to make a minor league rehab start tomorrow. If that goes well, no reason to think he's not back in the big leagues for his next start. So we could see him over the weekend, early next week. That's probably what we're going to get with Jack Leiter. Brayan Bello is set to be activated tomorrow for the Red Sox. Cool. We need him. The Red Sox desperately need him. And if Bello's on the waiver wire, I think he's worth an addition. Shallow leagues, it all depends. In my leagues, he was drafted and held on to. So, but Bello does have a shoulder issue. It is slightly concerning. They've been very safe and slow with his recovery, didn't force him at all. Bello is he's on the precipice of taking that next step. So when we're dreaming of guys on the waiver wire, Bello is a good target. If he was on the waiver wire in any of my leagues, I'd be adding him right now. And then we got a couple of guys in the bullpen to talk about before we do the FAAB run. Devin Williams allowed 4 runs in the 9th inning on Saturday. And, this is what happens, right? We talk about it all the time. Devin Williams is fantastic. He is a dynamic option. He also has allowed 9 runs, 8 of them earned, in 8 innings. His ERA is 9 and his WHIP is 2. He has been a freaking mess. Now, 50% left on base percentage is ridiculous. 70%-ish is basically the league average. Almost everyone regresses to that point. They just do. That's how the game works. In the case of Williams, because he's an elite level closer, his number is about 80% for his career. It's 50% right now. When that number is off by 5 to 7 points, meaning it's off the 70, meaning if it's 77% or it's 63%, we start going, whoa, it's 50%. So that's going to change. 424 batting average of balls in play, that's going to change. The big concern, though, for Williams right now, the legitimate concern for Williams, is a 17% walk rate. Ooh, he's normally about 12%, which is not good, but no one can hit him. Right now, when the gods are favoring the batters, and these walking guys, it's just a terrible combination. I think you got to keep the faith in Williams. What are you going to do? You got to keep the faith. But it's been a mess. Another guy that it's, as a result of the mess, by the way, Fernando Cruz, who I've seen mentioned, I got a question about him in Discord today. Fernando Cruz, who's been one of my favorites for a few years now, he's 35. He's older than you think. But the last 2 years, he's thrown 66 and 66 innings, 98 and 109 punch-outs. Last year, he had 23 holds, for those of you in Solds leagues. He appears to be the number 2 ahead of Luke Weaver for that closing game. He's 2 or 3 with Luke Weaver behind Devin Williams. He has been terrific thus far, has Cruz, 19 strikeouts in 12 innings. Really fantastic work. He's not, the strikeouts are legit with Cruz. The ratio, the 2.3 ERA, that's not going to be there. The 1 WHIP, that's not going to be there. His walk rate still almost exactly the same as career level, so the WHIP is going to go up. But Cruz is usable. He's certainly usable in Solds leagues, and he is one of the better strikeout relievers in baseball. Again, right, kind of fighting with Weaver for scraps right now behind Devin Williams. And then finally, Emmanuel Clase. I was very nervous about Emmanuel Clase last season, and I had him lower, I think, than anyone in the universe. And at the end of the year, I was totally wrong, as he saved 47 games with a 0.6 WHIP, 0.6 ERA too. Totally wrong. I had Clase like 6th or 7th at closer, and he was number 1. Why to have him down? Well, the strikeout rate concerned me. The fact that he was basically living off of throwing strikes with the velocity going down concerned me. Was that year early? Here we are through 11 outings for Clase, and he's got 2 blown saves already. He doesn't have a strikeout an inning. His walk rate is fine at 6%, but the strikeout rate 17%, which is terrible. It was 21% 2 years ago when I got nervous. So many balls are being put in play against Clase that it's, Devin Williams strikes guys out. Fernando Cruz strikes guys out. Clase is getting a ton of balls put in play. His ground ball rate, which is 60% for his career, is currently 45%. Batters are simply squaring him up better than they have in the past. Exit velocity has never been higher. The launch angle's never been higher. The barrel rate's never been higher. The hard hit rate's never been higher. Now, let's not go nuts here. It's 10 innings. But if you have Emmanuel Clase, This is, again, another reason why I get really nervous when people spend 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks on closers on draft day. You know, he was never going to repeat the ratios from last year anyway. But even if he's really good the rest of the way, his ERA is going to be 3.5, right? It's 7 right now, 7.8. Even if he's really good the rest of the way, his whip is 2 right now. What's it going to be, 1-1? These are still really good numbers, but they're off kind of what you expect. Williams and Clase, if you grab these two guys, you thought you had it set. 2 to 3 weeks. A little spicy with those two guys. All right, let's dive into some FAAB talk. Let's throw that up on the screen. Let me minimize myself here. There we go. And here's the FAAB. FAAB spends in the LABR 15-team mixed league. In this league, you have $100 to spend. You have to have money left over at the end of the year. You can't pick guys up for $0. So you always have to keep money in reserve in case injuries happen. In my situation right now on this league, I have C.J. Abrams on the injured list. I have Brandon Marsh on the injured list. I have Mason Wynn on the injured list. I have Ronald Acuna on the injured list. Yeah. So I lost both my middle infielders in 1 week, both my shortstops, and haven't got Acuna back yet. So this team is, right? We'll get to my team in a second. $100. Chandler Simpson went to Sleepers and Busts for $37. As you can see there on the screen, a ton of other bids. I was the $21 bid. So I wouldn't have got it anyway because someone else went $27 on Chandler Simpson. As we'll see, this is the most aggressive I saw anyone spend on Simpsons at $37. Sometimes people in your league, they see a player, they target them, and they go for it. You do the same, I'm sure. That's what we saw here. So my bid was 3rd at 21. We had another bid at 27, and then another one at 17, and then a bunch of lower level bids. Basically, half the league bid on him. I don't know why everyone didn't bid on him. Simpson, as I said earlier on the show, could lead the league in steals this year. Even if he's hitting 250 this year, could still have a league level on base percentage. Even if he's hitting 9th like he did yesterday, who cares? He's going to run. So I'm all for, Simpson. He has no power. He's not going to drive any runs in if he's hitting at the bottom of the order. So, okay. May not have great run score numbers because obviously less plate appearances down the order, all that kind of stuff. But dude is going to run. We already saw that. He got to steal his first game, right? So Simpson, not blow the budget on a guy, right? Because again, no power or run production likely here. But a good bat, good hit tool, and the ability to motor, and the league paid up for that. Chandler Simpson, you can see the failed bids we just talked about. Sorry. Luis Angel Acuna, $6 for him. He's multi-position eligible in this league. There's a bunch of failed bids, including one of mine for $3. 1, 4, 4, 3, 3. Remember, I lost Wynn and Abrams up the middle, so I need help up the middle. Acuna's on a really hot streak right now. What is he hitting? It's like 330 the last 2 weeks. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, 350 the last 2 weeks, 355. 5 steals, 2. And he qualifies probably at 2 spots, second base and shortstop. So I lost out on him. Luke Cashel, $4 was the bid there. You see a couple of failed bids at 1 and 3. And, Luke is part of the Twins. He was called up with the injuries the team is dealing with right now. Not really sure, and you can see that reflected in the price points here. Not really sure what this looks like for him because second base is Julian against righties, and they obviously have Cray at shortstop, and third base they're using Willie Castro. Though Willie Castro, he's a little bit beat up. So is the Keishel call up just because Castro's not fully healthy? Is there some staying power here? Luke does not have a very good hit tool. Kind of a very moderate level, kind of a moderate level prospect, really. Got a lot of speed. He can steal a base and all that. And you look at his production in the minor leagues, and you see some really good batting averages. Had 15 home runs, 20 steals last year. So, there's skills here. But as the league, you saw with the league here, no one's anticipating him getting 480 plate appearances this year. So the bidding was rather reserved there. Cameron Misner went for $3. Again, I should have said this in this league. We start 14 hitters, including those 5 outfielders. Misner went for $3, which happens to be the same price I got Mickey Moniak for, $3. Misner had failed bids of $1 and $3. Moniak had failed bids of 2, 2, and 1. So kind of pick your poison here. Same kind of guys. Johan Rojas in the middle. He also went for $3. The failed bids for 2, 2, and 2. So basically, these 3 guys, choose your poison. Misner, Rojas, Moniak, all for basically the same price, all basically the same amount of people bidding. I didn't look at it. I wonder if it's all of us were bidding on the same 3 guys. That's possible, right? So that's how that went. Jose Quintana for $3. That's a good addition. And again, this is a 15-teamer, so you know, to get a veteran that is stable from start to start, even if he's not sexy or dynamic, not the worst thing in the world to go with there. Edgar Cuero went for $3 with a failed bid of $1. Fred Zinke got him. This one is interesting. I was one of the ones with the failed. I had the failed $1 bid. I didn't go 3. As you can see lower on, I got Kyle Higashioka for $1. This is a kind of this in this league, you know, just trying to piece it together and make it work. And that's basically what we got here. We're trying to figure this out at the catcher spot. It's just not playing out the way we anticipated. So, you know, these things happen. Who was my first catcher? Who did I draft in this league? Let's look it up real quickly. Draft room. I think it was Freddie Fermin was my catcher. Yeah, Freddie Fermin was my catcher, and he's hit a little bit better of late, but he just hasn't done anything. So anyway, I made the move to Higashioka. Missed out on Cuero. Cuero called up by the White Sox. Unclear how much runway he's going to get, but he's a really good offensive player. And he is somebody that's going to get some playing time opportunities with Lee being down with the injuries. So he's got a chance to stick in that $3 bid, you know. Is he going to be 300% better than Higashioka? No, I don't think so. Am I off put by a $3 bid for him? Not at all. Again, I bid on him too. But $3 for Fred Zinke there. Alec Thomas for $2. Ryan O'Hearn for $2. Logan Henderson for $2. I know a lot of people got excited about Henderson after that first outing. In this league, only one bid on him for $2. People a little bit nervous about what the long-term has. Andrew Abbott, who's off to a great start with the strikeouts. I don't think anyone believes that's who he really is, though, as you can see here, a $2 bid. And then Eric Wegeman for me for $1. In this setup, Wegeman qualifies at both corner infield spots, and I just needed somebody right now. I hope that he continues to play on a daily basis. We'll talk about another Marlin in a few minutes here. They got called up. They're being promoted today. I think Wegeman will still be in the lineup on a consistent basis, playing first base. The last 2 weeks, hitting 297 with an 850 slug. I mean, 850 OPS, excuse me. So he's performed, you know, moderately effectively. And in my setup, I can use that. And again, this is a 15-team mixer. All right, let's go on to the next setup. This is the FAAB spending for the FSGA. This is a 14-team mixed league with $1,000 to spend, so a little bit different here. In this league, I have lost C.J. Abrams to the injured list. I've lost A.J. Puck over the weekend to the injured list. I've lost Francisco Alvarez all season long because of the issue he's dealing with. So of all my leagues, this is probably the one that I'm healthiest. I know it's only 3 guys, 1 guy a week. So let's talk about the bidding here. In this league, Chandler Simpson went for $216. I was the number 2 guy at $196, which happens to be the same price point I put on Caleb Durbin, excuse me. So I lost out on Simpson. So Simpson here, $216. I went $196. There was also bids of $151, $138, $86, $75, and $44. Kind of surprised how many people, I guess, thought that Simpson was called up and it's probably going to be a 2 or 3 week thing. And again, DeLuca and Lowe are there, and they're significant because if DeLuca and Lowe are back and Misner's still hitting, and, you know, it's like Simpson could be demoted. He could. Now, if you picked up Simpson, let's say in 10 days he gets demoted, unless you're in like a 10-team head-to-head league, you want to hold Simpson because the next time there's an injury, they call him back up, right? And again, he doesn't have to play every day to be stealing tons of bases. So if you spent 15, 20, 25% of your budget on Simpson and he's demoted in a week, hold on to Simpson and we'll see how this plays out. My bid point for Durbin was wildly over the top. It's unfortunately how it goes. There were 2 bids at $76 and then a bunch of bids in the $40 to $50 range. So I wildly overspent. Why did I wildly overspend? Well, because again, I lost C.J. Abrams. And I'm looking at my team here. I lost C.J. Abrams. I have Jordan Lawler, but when is that going to happen? I picked up Zach Veen a couple of weeks ago. He hasn't hit at all. In a nice game this weekend, but he hasn't hit at all. And then I have Nolan Jones, who I drafted when he was on the Rockies. Now he's part of the Guardians, and his outlook is in the toilet. So what I ended up doing is I was able to add Durbin to play middle infield. I then shifted Gavin Lux from my middle infield to my outfield spot. And Gavin Lux, for those people that aren't paying attention, I saw a really interesting comment the other day when one of the news sources, oh, Gavin Lux hasn't done anything. He's been boring. And Gavin Lux hitting 319. He's got 18 OPS. That's not boring. Now, again, no home runs, 1 steal. Okay. But that's not a boring player. And oh, by the way, the last week, he's 11 for 18, which is a .611 batting average. That's really doing nothing. So anyway, a cavalcade of factors playing into this decision making here with me. And frankly, you know, we've talked about this. I've actually been very aggressive because I spent 118 on Bean and 196 here on Durbin. I don't normally do this. I don't. But looking at this team, I've got Trevor Story killing it right now, but there's, you know, concern there with him holding on. Nolan Shanuel's been fine, but he's not sexy. Cody Bellinger has struggled today. I had to pick up Javi Baez last. Like this, you know, again, this is what happens in deeper leagues. So I overspent. Was it a mistake? Yes. Should that number have been 96? Yeah. I can live with it. In this league in particular, also to point this out, this is the one league I have where waivers run on Sunday night late, like at 1 in the morning or something like that on Sunday night. And then Monday morning from like 10 o'clock Eastern to like 1 o'clock Eastern. Not this week because of the early game, but normally like 3 hours in the morning on Monday, waiver wire is wide open. So not only can I add players for $0 through the waiver process on a Sunday night, I can also go to the waiver wire on Monday morning to fill up players. So it's much less necessary to hold on to dollar values late in the year because you can always make those. Okay. Keishel here went for $151. There was a bid at 116. So Colton Stern, the Wolfman, got their guy and had to bid that aggressively to get him. But look at the other bids: 19, 9, 5, 5, 9, 12. Woof. So I guess Colton, Wolfman, and Stern can feel good. They got their guy, and someone else was at 115. But woof, like that's even more of an overspend than me. So again, there was that one bid, and they had to get their guy. So I would much prefer Durbin for 196 to Keishel for 151. Way, to me, they're not. I would. Because again, I feel much more certain about the playing time with Durbin than I do with Keishel with the Twins. Noelvi Marte went for 76, failed bids at 12 and 44. Marte, you know, we talked about this. What's the playing time going to look like? And that's the real question here. He had the grand slam over the weekend, 7 RBIs off the, you know, who did he hit it off? The player, I'm forgetting his name right now. It wasn't a pitcher, but Marte is a significant contributor. With Steer now playing in the field, Marte's going to really have to hit because Candelario is still there, and at some point in the relatively near future, CES will be back. So it's that same chicken or egg thing with Marte. Tremendous talent, and I don't think $76 is crazy for him at all. A little aggressive, and you can see that no one else was above 44, but I don't think it's crazy at all in a deeper league like this. Kubar Rocker went for 55. That's a good bid. The next closest bid was 43 there. Rocker, you know, we know who Rocker is. Power arm, tons of strikeouts. Been uneven to date this year. Came into camp and just was off. Kind of found it. I think that at that price point, again, that's a solid addition there. Agustin Ramirez, who we'll talk about in a second, because I got Agustin Ramirez. He went for $49 here with the failed bids of 22 and 18. I had the $18 bid. Because I have in this league, the reason why I didn't go more aggressive, because I did in the other league we'll talk about. The reason I didn't go more aggressive is because Francisco Alvarez is closing in on a return. So I have Danny Jansen right now as my second catcher, and he hasn't hit. But Francisco Alvarez could be back late this week, next week. So I didn't need to get aggressive because my other catcher's Gabriel Moreno, and I think he pulls out of his slow start. Jake Fraley for $33, failed bids of 11 and 13. Is what he is. And this guy's going to hit 10 to 15 home runs, stay 15 bases. Solid addition as a fifth outfielder. Those of you in shallower leagues, I don't think you pay much attention, rightly so. Shane Smith, look at those bidding, 27, 24, 19, everyone in the same spot. Alex Verdugo went for 26 with a failed bid for $3. I did get a Verdugo question over the weekend. Right now, Verdugo, you know, if he's hitting at leadoff, as he is right now, if I'm not mistaken, did he hit leadoff? Let me look this up. I think he did, right? Verdugo. Yeah, he's hit leadoff all 3 games. If he's hitting leadoff, okay, now how long is he going to hit leadoff? Number 1, Jurickson Profar will be back halfway through the year, and he will go back into the lineup. Number 2, and more pressing on the short-term scenario, is Ronald Acuña's 3-4 weeks away from returning to action, right? So, you know, where does Verdugo end up? You know, it's tough to do Verdugo and Jared Kelenic in the lineup because both these guys really could stand to be platooned, and it's really difficult to platoon 2 guys. Right now, Verdugo short-term pickup, batting leadoff for the Braves. Let's go. Rock and roll. We know who Verdugo is, and again, the playing time concern that we just laid out. Logan Henderson went for 19 here with a failed bid for $12. I think the last one was 26 for Henderson, right? So 19 here. So very low price points. No one really buying Henderson despite that strong start over the weekend. Fernando Cruz we just talked about for 12. Kyle Farmer multi-position for 8. Mickey Moniak for 8. Plugging holes there. Failed bid of $5. Rojas for 5. Wageman for 4. So again, some names we heard in the last league. Very, very similar price points in this league. Finally, the Tout Wars League. And this league is, let's pull my team up so I can make sure you wonder what Ray's doing here. In this league, I have Tyler Stevenson, who I drafted, who got hurt. I then picked up Andy Rodriguez, who got hurt. So yesterday I picked up Agustin Ramirez. So that's now my 4th catcher. It's April. I'm already on to my 4th catcher. By the way, my other catcher is Elias Diaz. So this has gone horribly wrong. Horribly wrong to start. But Agustin Ramirez, who I'll write about today at fantasyguru.com, not a good defensive catcher. There's a lot of people that think, maybe he catches half the time, plays first base half the time kind of guy, long term. But he can hit. He can really hit and actually can steal a base, which is not a common thing for a catcher. I got him for $34 out of the $1,000 in this 15-team mixed league. And to me, that's fantastic. He also qualifies at first base. I don't need that per se because I was able to add Spencer Torkelson and Paul Goldschmidt. And I also, unfortunately, have Yandy Diaz, so I'm overloaded with first basemen, which is not ideal. But I picked up Torkelson early because I lost Josh Young to injury. So I picked up Torkelson as a replacement corner infield guy. He's been so good as Torkelson. He's 392 on base percentage, 7 home runs. That's looking like a great pickup, but it does jam my roster up a little bit. So maybe a trade's warranted here. But the bottom line is Ramirez, power, speed. He's going to get a chance to play right now. We don't know how much of a runway he's going to get, and that's always the problem. And again, in my scenario, it's 34 out of 1,000. It's a nothing burger, right? Who cares? Rob Brantley is still on the roster. Liam Hicks is there. So, it's uncertain how much time Nick Fortes is going to miss. I went for it. Because, again, I'm hoping to get Tyler Stevenson back here in 2 weeks, maybe less. At that point in time, I can make the decision on Elias Diaz or Ramirez. Diaz, by the way, he's got hearing footsteps because Luis Camposano is killing it down on the farm for the Padres. Chandler Simpson in this league went for $222. I also bid $196 in this league for Chandler Simpson, so I just missed out on Simpson in both of my leagues. Someone just went above me. What was it in the other league? What's the price point? Let's go back. Simpson went for 37 there. Simpson went for 216. So 216 and 222. So almost identical price points in both scenarios. In both the scenarios for me, 196 was my price for both guys, Durbin and Simpson. Outbid by $25 on Simpson in both cases. Got Durbin in both cases. In this league, a very similar scenario for me. Durbin goes into my middle infield spot. I then take my guy who's currently in the middle infield and put him in the outfield. That's Brandon Donovan. And that allows me, again, to put Nolan Jones, who, again, I drafted before he was traded to the Guardians. Nolan Jones on the bench this week. He's a little bit better of late, but still. So that's why I did that there. Logan Henderson went for 79 in this setup. In this setup, remember, we do innings versus wins for the pitching side of thing. We do souls versus saves in this Tout Wars League. We also do on-base percentage instead of batting average. Logan Henderson for $79. Again, how many innings is he going to throw? How long is he going to be around? In this league, is this the league I did? I grabbed Chase Dollander, what was it, for $36, $39 a couple of weeks ago. Didn't pitch him last week because he was pitching at Coors, thankfully, because he got bombed. So my youngster I took a chance on was Dollander for half the price of Henderson. We'll see how that goes. That's how it goes. Harrison Bader went for 36. We talked about Ramirez to me. Trent Grisham for 27. Trent Grisham's been on the waiver wire in an on-base percentage league. He's better in on-base percentage than he's in batting average, even though his batting average is good right now. He's just sitting on the waiver wire. No one picked him up. Should tell you what everyone thinks about Grisham. Grisham has been placed on the paternity list, so he's not going to be available for a couple of days here for the Yankees. So short term, he's not out of the lineup anyway. Grisham you're just playing with fire with Grisham. There's just no way to think this offensive start is going to be something he's able to continue. We've got too much data with him to suggest that he's anything other than like a fifth outfielder if it goes right. It's been fantastic right now, but we got a Kyren Paris situation I think that's about ready to play out with Trent Grisham, excuse me. Kai Scholl in this league, 26, so even less excitement here, but still an addition. Chad Patrick for 23, Abner Uribe for 22, Quinn Priester for 22 to DVR. That's a good pickup. Quinn Priester maybe in the DFS article, Rays plays today over at fantasyguru.com, maybe. So check that out. I think that's a good addition at 22. Steven Matz for 16, Glenn Lively for 15. Unfortunately for the Siege, it was announced that Matz is going to be removed this turn. The Cardinals went to a 6-man rotation to get Matz in there. He made a decent start. They then announced their next turn through the rotation right now, they're going to skip him. So very uncertain. It's not a big price point at all with Matz, but when you're adding a guy in a league that counts innings, you need to know, or you want to know, right, that he's going to throw those innings. And right now we're just not really certain what the role is with Matz. Lucan Baker went for 14, Alex Verdugo for 5, so really low price point there. Luis Angel Acuna for 2. Again, positional flexibility and some speed, limited offensive player. Ronnie Mauricio coming at some point, but Acuna's in a nice groove right now in multi-position. Solds League, so Tyler Rogers, totally get that at 2. Jack Dreyer for 1, Mickey Moniak for 1, Gavin Sheets for 1. I bid on Gavin Sheets in this league too. My bid would have won him. I think I had 18 on him, but I got Chad Durbin. And then Edward Julian for free. Julian got hot for about 10 days, and he's been cold the last week, but a decent addition in an on-base percentage league up the middle. So there it is. That's a review of FAAB this week. I hope that you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, hit me up in Discord over at fantasyguru.com. Thanks for the feedback. Tony and Brandon in particular, really appreciate that on the show today. Hit us up at fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. Get signed up for the product over there. And anything. You got any questions? Support at fantasyguru.com. Support at fantasyguru.com. Check it out. Send those questions, comments in, all that kind of stuff. Again, hit me up in Discord. Appreciate the positivity, the uplifting messages here, as you all want to do here on the show. Again, really appreciate this group of people. It would be great to grow this group of people. So tell a friend. It is a free show. We do have the pay product over at FG and all that kind of stuff, but we try to have some fun here and be informative as well. Remember, we're back to the normal schedule this week, Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern. I'm here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Justin Fensterman's in on Wednesdays. Tomorrow will be Armando Marsal. We'll talk some football. Armando will join Justin on Wednesday. Probably talk some basketball playoffs. Thursday will be Tyler Beaker. Friday will be Russell Clay. The NFL draft. So we can't get away from it, folks. Can't. The football. It's a juggernaut. I guess people love it too because it's all anyone wants to talk about, which I continue to be surprised by that. I will say one final point, or ask one final question as we head out here on the show. I keep thinking about this, and I keep asking, and people keep saying no. Has the month of April changed any of your opinions as to whether you want to play or would consider playing in an offensive-only league? I mean, I got to tell you, starting to get really frustrating here, and it's April. It's already starting to get frustrating with pitching, right? Would you play an offensive-only league? I'm in an offensive-only league. I kind of like it. Every time I ask, people say no. It's like 2/3 of people say no way. Is it really that fun picking up 5th starters across the land, hoping that having to count on them for 15, 20 starts? I don't know. So anyway, send a note to support fantasy. Don't send a note to them. Hit me up in Discord if you got a comment on that. Would you play in an offensive-only league? And has your opinion on that changed based upon the start we've had in 2025? So I'm off to write my Raise Plays piece, my DFS work over at fantasyguru.com. I'll have a better 2 up later today at FG. I'll have a Raise Ramblings piece up today at FG, and then I'll be on with Justin Fensterman on the Elite Sports Show as we return to normal, 8 to 10 Monday through Friday. I'll return there with Justin tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, though this week is disjointed. We're only on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday through Friday is the NFL draft coverage. And then next week, we'll be back to 5 days a week at that 8 to 10 time slot. I'm Ray Flowers. Thanks for watching today. Thanks for humoring me. I really appreciate it. We'll see you again tomorrow here on Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.